So favorite thing ever. Your call. We went to high school party. Where's our there's a lot of $1,000. Like everyone had to like come in as like a control. Like you signed up all the I was
Oh, sure.
Program for that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone. We're going to get started, actually, so just grab your stuff. That's okay, no worries. It's pretty informal today, but we're going to get started. You can sit anywhere you like. That little camera thing is recording all of us in here, and then we have some guests online. So wherever you like. Yeah, if you sit in the corner, you won't be on film. Or less likely, if that's your objective, yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started today. We have an interesting set of panels today, presentations all on solar opportunities in College Park. So my name is Todd Larson. I'm with the Community for a Better Environment, and we're sponsoring this event along with...
Hey folks, I'll stand up. My name is Sam. My name is Sam. I am from the University of Maryland. I am part of a group called the Climate Action Campaign, and we're really just hyped to do this. We're really excited that Todd was excited to do it, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys have throughout the day.
Yeah, so we're going to have several presentations today, as I mentioned. Just to start, help yourself to all the flyers and materials from the county. There's a bunch of great stuff on that table. There's also additional materials here. And when we started this event, we were going to talk, of course, the county's going to share what they do to offer incentives to help you go solar. But then in the meantime, the state of Maryland passed a giant omnibus energy bill that's 160 pages long and not terribly readable. But within it, they include some interesting things for homeowners and renters. So there's two things to note there. And I think Smee will also talk about this stuff as well. But one thing is we now have plug-in solar in Maryland, which means you can go buy a panel, maybe like even at Costco, a small panel, like 300, 400 megawatts, 300, 400 watts, or maybe 1.2 kilowatts. That's about the largest it can get. You can put it on your balcony, attach it to your home, and just plug it into a socket, and you are now solar. You just have to tell Pepco you're doing it. And they can't say no, so as long as it's UL listed. So anyone can now have solar now. Those panels cost like $400 to $2,000, so much less expensive, and that price will probably come down. And we're like the 5th state now to have that, so the price will come down on those panels. And so that's exciting that we can now do that, and renters can do it. Homeowners, you can take the panels with you and you move, they're yours. So it's pretty cool. But also the state is going to reduce what they pay for home-wide solar systems starting in 2027. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you can lock in the current payments that you get from solar on a house if you do it by July of 2027. That's just something to keep in mind. But in 2027 in August, I think the permitting and interconnection process is faster. So that's the upside. It's a lot easier to put solar on your home, hopefully. So those are just some things to keep aware of from what's going on in the state of Maryland. And just as everybody knows, there's plenty of food, snacks, and beverages over there. Help yourself at any time. Feel free to get up and move about. And with that, I'm going to introduce Tamiwa, who's from the county here, Prince George's County. Is going to talk about all the cool programs that Prince George's has. Yeah. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you to Samuel, Todd, Janet, the Committee of Better Environment and American Conservation Coalition for helping to organize this. So thank you so much. My name is Tamiwa. I'm an energy analyst with Prince George's County Department of the Environment. We have a lot of energy grant programs for homeowners. I'm specifically going to be talking about our solar grant program. kind of the purpose of our division, at least the sustainable energy side, is to help homeowners reduce consumption, energy consumption, costs, and carbon emissions. So that's kind of the goal. And so we do that through financial incentives, like literally just grant money and reimbursements once you go for these upgrades, whether it's solar, whether it's energy efficiency upgrades, things like that. So the presentation's around probably 20-ish minutes. I go through all phases. You can ask questions. I recommend towards the end, but if there's something, feel free to stop me, and I'm happy to answer questions. But there's a good chance I'll get to it later in the slide deck. And yeah, let's have some fun. All right, so agenda. So I'm going to go over the Solarize campaign. So Prince George's County right now, we're doing a Solarize campaign. I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll get into the grant program. There's an acronym that we use, SOLAR, so scan for eligibility, obtain financial assistance, look for a contractor, apply for pre-qual, and then receive grant funds. That's kind of the process if you want to participate. I'll talk about some consumer protections that are now available in solar, and some additional resources, and then we can get to Q&A. All right? All right, so Prince George's County, Solarize, your partner in power. That's our slogan. So we're aiming to increase awareness, build trust, and educate residents about the consumer protections that are available when going solar, rooftop solar, and then also funding opportunities. There's so many funding opportunities right now, and so it's a really good time to go solar if you're if you're interested. Another important thing about our campaign is that solar is not for everyone. We're not trying to convince anyone to go for it. We just want to help you make an informed decision, whether it makes sense or not. And there is a lot of great nonprofits that can help you make that decision. And we have a partnership with one nonprofit. They're called Solar United Neighbors. And the reason why we like them is because they have a help desk. You can just call them up. Any questions you might have about community solar, plug-in solar, rooftop solar, any skepticism, any concerns about warranties, you can ask us. You can also ask them. And they have a whole massive team business that can help you out. So.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you intending to project the slides to the online people, but you're not projecting? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We can make that happen. 1 second. Content only, maybe? Let's try that.
Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. And you can just leave that on the background. You can just click your slide.
Okay, let's see that aside.
Okay.
Let's see if I can move this around too. A little bit more familiar with Microsoft Teams.
Oh, okay.
Anybody know how to close this a little bit?
You can just,
Hide video pane?
yeah. It's a good question. I'm not sure.
That's all right. That should be fine for now.
I was going to say, you can just have yours open and we can go back and forth.
Okay, cool. All right. Some benefits of going solar. Lower your energy bills for the long term, increase your property value, and support a local healthy environment. So those are just some brief benefits. I'm going to talk about net metering, kind of how that works, and just generally how rooftop solar works. So first step, you hire a solar contractor to do the work. They're going to take a look at your roof, and they're going to install a system that's supposed to offset your energy usage. But they take into consideration your budget. They take into consideration design constraints, which can be trees surrounding your house. It could be the age of your roof, things like that. So each kilowatt hour of energy the panels generate results in less electricity bought from your utility. So that's kind of the benefit of it. You're buying less energy from your utility, and right now, most people say that their utility bills are really high. So if you're producing your own energy, that's less you take it from. Yeah, you have to buy from your local utility. Your utility will bill you for the difference between the electricity you generate and the electricity you consume. So if your solar system produces less energy than what you need, then any extra energy that you need, you can buy from your local utility. So that's kind of how it works, kind of like the net metering policy. So net metering is a billing arrangement that allows you to receive credits on your utility bill for any excess electricity you send back to the grid. So that's kind of how net metering works. And then solar renewable energy certifications or certificates, also known as RECs or SRECs, are performance-based solar incentives that allow you to earn additional income from your system. So when you get a system installed, your contractor is required to register your system with the Public Service Commission. And essentially you get these credits, and you can sell those credits, those SRECs, for additional income. So solar has a lot of benefits, because financial benefits: you're producing your own energy, you have the net metering policy, and then also you have SRECs. So it's really great. So roughly, like, how much a system may cost, that's the main point, right? It can range anywhere from as small as like $10,000 all the way to like $50,000. And it really just depends on what you're looking for and your budget. So it's a really great opportunity to leverage these grant programs and these group discounts so that you reach your payback period or your break-even point a lot quicker. Because as soon as you pay off the system, then it's essentially free electricity. And that's what you're trying to get to. So Prince George's County, we have our solar energy grant. You can get between $5,000 to $10,000 off on your system. We're accepting applications on a rolling basis. Awards are limited. So it's a first come, first served basis. So as I was saying before, it's a 5-step solar grant process. Is anyone unable to see the slides, by the way? I have a couple of copies that I can hand out. Okay, everyone's good to go? All right.
I would love it.
Yeah. I have 2, so we can just kind of pass them around.
Sorry.
Once you can't see.
Thank you. Or maybe you can email them?
Yeah, I can email them out to the group.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, 5-step process. We're going to go through each step on how to apply, scan for eligibility, obtain financial assistance, look for a contractor, apply for pre-qual. So this is a big thing. So it says before installation. So that's how the program works. So unfortunately, if you already have solar, you would not qualify for the program because it's only for people who have not yet installed solar. And I'll explain the difference between 5,000 and 10,000 in a little bit. And so once you submit your application, that's at step 4. We pre-approve it, then they do the install. We ask for more paperwork after the inspection, and then we will send the payment. It's like a reimbursement. And I'll talk about the timeline, how long it takes, and all that as well. All right, scan for eligibility. Step 1. So to qualify, you must be a Prince George's County homeowner, and you must have not already received the grant before. To check home ownership, we use the SSTAT, the Real Property Data Search. You just type in your address, and your name should pop up if you're the homeowner. Or if you live with a homeowner, we'll work with you. And then it's only for single-family homes. And then you can already have a system, and if you can also add on to a system. Unfortunately, that also doesn't qualify. And then now I'll talk a little bit more about this in step 2, but there's kind of 3 ways that people usually pay for a solar system. It's usually cash purchase, a loan, or a lease, or a PPA. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But the point is, you can only cash purchase or loan to qualify for this program. And I'll explain a little bit why that is in the next slide. All right, step 2, financial assistance. So homeowners must own the PV system through cash purchase or a loan. All right, so this is just a little example of the 3 ways that people usually, the upfront cost of solar, how they pay for it. So cash purchase, straight up, whatever you have in your bank account. A loan, it's very similar to, a car loan. You'll pay it off over time. A lease or PPA. Now this one, the lease PPA one, is very interesting because this is, if you know someone who got free solar 10, 20 years ago, more than likely it was through a lease or a PPA. Or if you see something that says free solar, sometimes that we're referring to is a lease or PPA. So the way it works is there's no upfront cost. So system cost 0, but you're renting the panels and you're using the electricity that it produces so that your bills are lower. So that's the leases. When you're renting the panels, you're leasing the panels. The PPA, the power purchase agreement, you're paying for the rate. You're paying for the energy it produces at a lower rate than what your utility produces. So whatever you're getting charged from your utility, if it's like 20 cents per kilowatt hour, your PPA will be lower, so that you're getting cheaper energy essentially paying for it. So that's kind of how the lease and the PPA option works. And at the very bottom, you can see that the most savings over time of the lifetime of the system, because most solar systems last about 25 years, around that. When you pay for it straight up, you get the most amount of earnings. It says like 36,000 for a 7 kilowatt system. That's like somewhat average. Around 7 kilowatt system is like the average size these days. Usually it's a little bit higher as we go more towards electrification. Solar loan is a little bit lower, but you're still going to be end up owning the system, because when you loan, when you pay it off, you still own whatever that equipment is, the property. But the least amount of savings is the lease and the PPA, because usually you don't own the system when you're doing leasing or PPAs. You typically don't own the system, and that means you don't get access to those SRECs that I was mentioning. And that's a big reason why you don't get those savings. So this is just an example. Everyone's situation is different. It might not cost as much. It might be less for your system. It might be more. I just want to make sure this is just an example. So it's important to talk to a solar company and get quotes from them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. So, all right. So for our program, like I said, when you're purchasing a system, for our program, we only support cash purchases and solar loans. That's the way it works. So we want to make sure that you get the opportunity to own the system, because that's when you reap the most benefits. That's what we do for our program. I'm going to pause there because I feel like I'm going over a lot. So any questions so far? Yes.
So the return on investment is based on how long you're going to stay in that house. And I see your examples are 25-year savings. Right? Mm-hmm. So for someone who may live in their house 10 years, is it even financially feasible?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on when your payback period is. So like if you're living in a house for 10 years, but you get grants from our program, and they'll do the calculations for you, and you can see like when your payback period, because if you pay off your system within 3 years and you're living in the house for 10 years, then you still have 7 years worth of free electricity. That makes sense. So it just kind of depends on the projections. Is that kind of?
And they'll include that in the discussion, in the evaluation?
Yes, yes.
That's a factor that they include?
Yes.
How long you're staying in your home?
Well, that as long as you tell them how long you're staying in your home, that's something that they should keep. And then when you get the system, at least for our program, we also make sure that it's transferable. So like if you do move, for example, you can sell, if you want to sell the system with the home, you can do that. Because a lot of, we hear nightmare stories of people having solar and they try to sell their house and it was a mess. Typically, that is because of the lease PPA option. They don't own the system. A third party owns it, they're just renting it. So if you hear something like that, that's usually why. And leases and PPAs, they're not necessarily bad. It's just a different model. And for people who got systems a while ago, they didn't fully understand. Another thing about leases and PPAs and sometimes loans is that the rate is usually an escalation rate clause, meaning that if you're paying it off, it goes up 8% on the first year, they're going to raise it up to 9%, 10% as the years go by. So that was something that people didn't realize either back in the day. And so we have protections, and the state of Maryland has more protections around PPAs and leases, more now than ever. So I don't know if I answered your question. But
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Yeah.
So I'm a renter, and so I wouldn't qualify for something like this, but my landlord would.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there are mechanisms, and like the problem being that the landlord would benefit from the long-term sort of value add to solar panels on their property, but obviously like the people living in there and getting charged utilities would be the ones who get the short-term benefits. Do you guys have recommendations for cost-sharing mechanisms for us to say like, hey landlord, you would pay this much and be able to harvest long-term benefits. We would pay this much and be able to get cheaper utilities for renters to participate in something like this, or to incentivize our landlords to participate in something like this?
I mean, that's a really good point. We don't currently have resources for that. That would be a question, I think, for the nonprofit that we have a partnership with, Solar United Neighbors. I'm sure they might have some ideas on negotiation tactics with your landlord to figure out, if you think your roof and the apartment building that you live in is a great candidate for solar, talking to them about it, seeing if you can get some benefits from it to reduce your bills. So I'm happy to give you contact information from that company.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So if I, using cash, put 30, 40,000 into a system, what kind of grants can I expect?
Good question. So Prince George's County, so around 5 to 10,000 from our program. The state of Maryland, they have something called the Maryland Solar Access Program. You have to check the eligibility criteria, and that's something that your nonprofit can look to help you look through because it's a lot to look at. But if you qualify for them, you can get up to 7,500 from that program as well. So what people are doing, they're getting 5 to 10 from us. They're getting 5 to 7-ish from the state. They're getting a discount from the Solar Switch program, which I'll talk about too. Next thing you know, you might be able to get a free system, or you might be able to get a system for $500 or $1,000, and then it pays for itself off in a year or less. So it's just, yeah. Does that kind of answer your question? A little bit?
What's the difference between getting a 5 and a 10,000 qualification?
He's gonna get that.
Sorry. It's all about eligibility for these programs. Yeah. So I can talk about our eligibility for the other programs that I mentioned. You'll have to reach out to them to see if you qualify. Yeah. But we'll definitely talk about if you qualify for this amount. If you own a home in Prince George's County, you can get 5,000. That's pretty much the qualification for our program. As long as you don't have solar yet, you apply to us. You get a contractor, and then you get 5,000. All right. All right. So let's talk about the two grant amounts. So $10,000 towards. Let me go to the next slide actually, because this is a really important slide. So for option A, if you qualify for $10,000, you have to be a homeowner in the county. There are these neighborhoods, energy resiliency communities. This was part of a initiative that happened back in 2015 or so, the Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative. And so there are specific zones that would kind of qualify to disadvantaged communities. Often low-income families live in those communities. So if you live within the pink area, unfortunately College Park, I don't think is part of it. But if you live in the pink areas and if you're a Pepco customer, you can qualify for the $10,000. And that's supposed to be allocated towards, disadvantaged communities. And then option B is $5,000 for any other homeowner in the county. So more than likely, if you live in College Park, you would qualify for the $5,000 if you're a homeowner. You just have to make sure you apply to us before you get the solar installed. And then, yeah. So any questions about that, about qualification? See if you're eligible for our program? Okay. Just out of curiosity, who has Pepco here as their utility? Okay, mostly everyone. All right, yeah, this is usually Pepco area. Okay, cool. Eligible costs. So what can the $5,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 go towards, right? The equipment that the solar equipment, the panels and all that, but it can also, 20% of it can also go towards tree trimming. So if there's a tree that's right next to your house and it's, there's a lot of shade that's covering the roof, you don't want to cut it down, you want to trim it down, or if you want to cut it down, that is an option. Money goes towards that. And then service panel upgrades, oftentimes your electrical panel might need some upgrades when you get the system. So it can also go towards that as well. And also roof repairs. Your roof age is something to consider. If you need some roof upgrades, your contractor will tell you that, what roof repairs are needed to get the system installed. And they can go from there and you can use money towards that. Other stackable incentives. So I was saying before, it's a good time to go solar right now because there's a lot of grants available. So the Maryland Solar Access Program, I have a link towards that over there. Check to see if you're eligible. You can get 5,000 to 7,000 off your system there. Switch Together program. Now this is an interesting program. I also have a flyer on it. They keep it simple. You put in your information, you register. It's a group purchasing discount. What that means is that a lot of people register. They choose like 1 or 2 contractors that give you quotes. And because it's a group purchasing because a lot of people are registered, they discount the offer. So you're going to get a better offer like a better proposal than you would just going individually. So if you get stressed out about, trying to decide which contractor to choose and all that, a lot of people like to go for the Switch Together program. And the benefit of it is that we try to design our grant to be stackable. So you can stack the Switch Together, the Maryland Solar Access Program, you can stack our grant to kind of reap all the benefits, to try to make your system as cheap as possible. And then alternative energy property tax credit. This is a property tax credit that's been around the county for a long time. From my understanding, it's really backed up though. So if you register, I'm pretty sure 5-10 years is when you would get the credit back. So it takes a long time. So we usually don't promote it, but reach out to the Office of Finance if you want more information on that. All right. Step 3, look for a contractor. So the main thing about the slide that really matters is that the state of Maryland, they have a list of contractors that are vetted with the county. So, the state goes through all the contractors, makes sure that they are offering, appropriate offerings, and that they're, they go through a vetting process. So you have to choose a contractor that's on that list. This is another form of protection for you guys. Everything else on this page is kind of more for solar installers. These are things that we check for. We look at their licenses, like their electrician license, their MHIC license. We want to make sure that they're registered with the county. We also look at their solar licenses. They have to offer customer references. So if a company sends you a quote, but you want to talk to somebody who has gone through their services before, they're required as part of our program to give you a reference. So you can talk to another homeowner. I was like, hey, how was that solar company? Were they good? And that homeowner can tell you, if they had a good experience or not. So that's a requirement for our program. And then warranties. We have several different warranty requirements, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Apply for pre-qualification. All right, this is just when you select your contractor, you're like, I like this contractor. You will then work with them. They'll usually do the paperwork for you, and then you'll review it all, and then they'll submit the application to us. That's what step 4 is. After you choose a contractor, they'll submit the application to us. And again, a lot of this paperwork slightly less important because it's more for the contractor, but you'll fill out the application. We'll need to see a utility bill from within the last 3 months. There's a W-9 form that needs to get filled out for whoever's receiving the grant fund. So we have 2 options. We can either pay the contractor directly for the work that they're doing on your home, or we can give you guys a reimbursement. That's kind of how it works. And we want to see the proposal and the contract that you sign between you and your contractor. So that's kind of the process. So this is important that, again, if you want to go through this program, make sure you apply before they do any work on your home. They can do a consultation, you can do that, but you have to apply to our program before they install to remain eligible. Because we want to take the time to look through the contract and all that for you guys. All right, receive grant funds. So after you send the application and we pre-approve it, we pre-qualify it. The contractor is then released to do the installation. All right, so they'll get the permit, they'll install in your home, and then they'll reach out to DPI, the Department of Permitting and Inspection Enforcement, to get it inspected by the county. And once it's inspected by the county and interconnected with PEPCO, then the contractor reaches back to us and they'll submit these documents to us. And then we'll do a site visit. We'll meet you guys at your house. We'll talk to you, see how your experience was. We'll snap some photos of the equipment, and then eventually we will issue the payment. So that's kind of the last step. On this page, again, most of this is for your contractor, but we require them to take some photos. We ask for the interconnection agreement from PEPCO, an invoice, all types of stuff. We also have a survey that we ask you guys to fill out as well. So timeline for the program. So when you choose your contractor and you submit the application to us, we usually take about 30 business days roughly or less to issue that reservation of funds essentially. And then the installation, we give a max of 6 months, but that's really up to your contractor how quickly they can install. They'll let you know when they can get the installation done. And then final approval when we do the site visit and when we receive the invoicing documents, usually around 15 business days for us to process the final docs. And then your actual payment, once it's approved, usually takes between 60 to 90 business days to actually get issued. So the whole process, starting from today, if you're like, I want to go solar, usually it can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to get the payment. And it's because that involves the construction, that involves so many things. It just depends. It depends on a lot of different things. But it can take a while, but the payment will come. Yes, question?
When you talk about the payment,
Yeah.
that's the grant money.
Yes, grant award
But
reimbursement.
you could move forward without the grant money and then receive it later.
Yes. In fact, that's a great question. Because our program it's essentially a reimbursement. So you still have to pay the upfront costs, but we'll reimburse you. That's how the $5,000 or $10,000 comes. It comes at the end. It's just required, like government, how we do it. Yeah. Consumer protections. Only a couple more slides, and then we can go full on and continue to stop me. I think questions during it seems to be better actually. So, but only a couple more slides left. All right, consumer protections. So this is an important slide. So these are things that the state of Maryland check for on your behalf, and things that we also look for when you submit applications. So the contractor shall avoid underestimating costs and overestimating performance. We have different softwares that we use to make sure that whatever quotes or whatever proposal or whatever projections that they're giving you are accurate. Ownership terms should be clearly defined, saying that you own the system. They must disclose the roof inspection, because before they install solar, they got to do a roof inspection. Regarding roofs, I think, I'll get to warranties in a little bit. And then participating contractor must disclose that there will be material costs to remove and reinstall the panels. So if you have to, if you have a leak, for example, they need to say in the contract, like, this is how much it's going to cost for us to remove the panels. Or if it's part of their contract, they need to make sure that's clear. Like, we will remove the panels for you if there's a leak, and we'll reinstall for you. So that's something that we want to, it needs to be very clear in the contract before you sign. Must provide a full breakdown of savings and projections so that you understand when your payback period will end if if it's not an entirely free system. Warranties, this is great. So workmanship warranty, a minimum of 10 years. So a lot of people get concerned about their roof warranty. You have a current roof warranty. Most contractors will replace that warranty with another roof warranty that has to be at least 10 years. But I've seen a lot of the contractors go through our program are 25-year roof warranties. So again, it depends on what installer that you choose. That's one thing that can help you kind of decide is like, how long is the roof warranty? Like, we're doing 12 years, 20 years. Most solar modules, the manufacturing warranty is usually around 25 years for solar modules. And then inverters is like a piece of equipment. Usually those are around 10 years as well. But a lot of systems are microinverters, but that's getting all technical. And then we have some dispute resolution resources as well. So like if you have an issue with your contractor, we have some resources of who you need to contact, how you can submit a complaint, things like that. So this slide is for installers. I assume there's no solar companies in the crowd. Okay, we'll keep going. All right. I'll pause here. Any questions so far before I go over the last few slides? All right. So how do I get started? Our recommendation is to start with an online free assessment. So Pepco has a solar calculator website. Pretty cool. All you do, you go type in you can sign in to your account. You type in your address, and they'll give you type in your address there. They'll give you they'll show your roof, and they'll show how much solar potential you'll have. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And you can kind of get an idea, like, does my roof make sense for solar? They'll do that. And then after you keep going through it, it'll also show you how much the system might cost based on the area of your roof and things like that. So that's my recommendation, is to start with some type of online free assessment just to get an idea before you start talking to the companies. BG&E has one, Smeco also has one. And then Energy Sage and Solar Reviews are also really great websites for trying to figure out, what's the reputation of these companies. They have great articles, FAQs, if you have questions. So choose your solar contractor. That will be the next step. So once you do your assessment, you'll choose your contractor, and this is the website that I was telling you about, the Maryland Energy Administration Solar Access Program. They have a list of a bunch of contractors that you can choose from that are all eligible for our program. And then this was the group purchasing program. Again, if you don't feel like having to go through that process, you just want someone to kind of give you a good discounted rate or proposal, you can sign up for the Solar Switch program. I got flyers over there. And this is our solar grant flyer as well, also on the table. And finally, that is it. So that is the solar grant program. And yeah, thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
And I have copies of the PowerPoint. They're over on the table for your exit.
Great. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Anyone like one now? Yeah. And then there'll still be some other ones there.
And I'm going to have the communications uploaded
If you
to our
install a
website
system.
for sustainability.
And then, and then at a later date, let's say you put an addition on your house. I guess if you put solar on that, it's all on you, adding it into the system. There's no more grant or anything.
Oh, like if you wanted to get like another grant for additional solar that you add on?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, once you get the grant once, that would be it. Yeah.
And there wouldn't be any other grants you qualify for.
It would depend. Because we're at the local county level, we're at Department of the Environment, but it's honestly, it's hard to keep track of. Like sometimes the state comes out with, special incentives. Sometimes PEPCO will come out with some special program. So my suggestion is always use those nonprofit channels so they can help you figure out what is currently available. So Solar United Neighbors is a great starting point. They're like, hey, Solar United Neighbors, what are the current available incentives, grants that I qualify for? And they should be able to take the time to help you find that out. Yeah. All right.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So if someone has an older roof and the roof needs to be replaced, can that be incorporated in this whole process, or should they do it before they even start?
Another good question. So our grant, so most companies they're required to do a roof inspection. And then if there's some upgrades that are needed, they'll tell you that before you get the thing installed, the roof installed, or the solar installed. Our program, that $5,000, you live in College Park, that $5,000, 20% of that $5,000 can go towards roof repairs. So essentially that grant award, 20% can go towards fixing up the roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For folks on Zoom remote, I know it's harder to ask questions sometimes. Did anyone want to ask a question? You can just speak up or raise your hand or whatever you like. All right. Well, thanks. That was a great presentation. You're gonna stay around?
I'm sticking around. You can swing by and we can chat.
If you have specific questions about your home or anything, I'd be here to answer those. And there's a whole bunch of materials that are from the county that you can help yourself with. So for the second part of today's panel, we're going to talk about what happens if your home is in the shade, so you're not going to get solar panels, or you're a renter, what the options are for you, one of which is community solar. I'm going to turn it over to Sam to talk a little about that, and then we're going to have a few folks who will join us up here. We got the chairs like this because they face both audiences. And we'll have a few folks up here who will talk about their experience with community solar.
So community solar, who's heard of community solar before? Show of hands. All right, so for those who haven't, does anyone here use it, by the way? Awesome, if you move for me, that's cool. Basically, you pay for like streaming services, you pay for Netflix, you pay for different services throughout the year. This is the same thing, but with solar energy. So instead of having panels put directly on your home, you have panels that you are sponsoring somewhere else. So for me, I'm a renter, I live here in College Park. I obviously do not have the authority to say I would like to put a panel on my house. But with my roommates, we pay a fee each month to a solar company called Nautilus, and we get a discount back from the county, or that we can use for Pepco, to save some money each month on our electricity bill, cutting down a little bit while still being able to, be able to help out clean energy initiatives while not being able to directly have them on our homes itself. So that's the very simple explanation. Does anyone have any questions about it before we get to our panels? Yes?
Could you clarify what you mean by you pay for it?
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, again, you know you pay for Netflix each month, you pay a little fee each month. It's the same thing, you basically pay a little fee to use community solar, and from there, you'll get a discount back that you can use on your electricity bill for the county. You end up saving anywhere to the week from about 5 to 10%, give or take, on your electricity bill each month. Yes?
How did you do your price comparing before deciding?
Yeah, so we just kind of looked at a bunch of different options in the county. Obviously, we, as I said, went with Nautilus, but there's a bunch of different ones in the area. We mostly looked at which ones were the most trusted by our neighbors and community members as a whole, and then went with those. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think maybe it sounds like you get a discount back.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out how is that against your overall energy use?
Yes.
Against that.
Yeah, so let's say
There's a little apples to oranges thing.
yeah, it's a little apples to oranges, but let's say you have on a $120 bill. Using community solar, you could save maybe $10 on that, or hopefully maybe if you're lucky at the 20, you could get a $100 bill instead of 120 or 110 instead of 120, stuff like that. Yeah, so there's a little apples to oranges, but it does work out and saves some money. Yes.
Does it automatically come off your Pepco bill?
It should, yes. You just do need to obviously let Pepco know you're doing this, make sure all the paperwork is in order, all that good stuff. Yep. Questions? Anyone else before we bring our panels up? No? Awesome. Then I'm very excited to have some of our folks from the county. We have some renters and homeowners here who have all been using community solar for the past few months to years. And with that, I'm going to invite them to come on up to our panel. Awesome. So, you gentlemen would like to introduce yourselves. We'll go from this end down.
Hi, my name is Anderson. I'm a student at the University of Maryland, so we're renting a house in Berwyn neighborhood. We've been doing community solar. We signed up in the end of the fall to October or November.
I'm Leo Shapiro. I'm a homeowner for many years in Calvert Hills neighborhood of College Park. I just looked up when we started using community solar through a company called Neighborhood Sun, although I think our project is actually the same as yours, possibly, for the same owner. And it's about just over 7 years now. And just to not get ahead of myself, but to address a couple of those questions. One is, your question, they recently, thanks to the state of Maryland making it possible, have consolidated billing. It used to be very confusing, and it all worked out, but we can talk about that in a minute. But now it is very straightforward. And the other question, depending on who you have your arrangement with, as it says, about 5 to 10% off. But just to be clear, it's off the kilowatt hour price that Pepco would be charging. They just discount. It's not you definitely don't save as much money as if you put on your own panels. But for myself, it has the advantage of I don't have to deal with panels. I don't have to deal with anything. It's just they deal with everything. And my main motivation was not to save money, but not to be sponsoring coal or oil measurements.
Hi everyone, my name is Wentao Guo. I am a grad student at UMD. I have been renting a house with a bunch of people, first in the Branchville neighborhood and now mostly in College Park Woods. And I've been also with Neighborhood Sun since 2021. I think I was just looking at my calculated savings over that whole time. I think I've saved about $300 on electricity in that time.
Awesome, thank you guys. Now, As I said, this is a panel, so I have a bunch of questions, but more importantly, if you guys have questions, I'd love to hear what you guys have to ask my fine friends here first. So, not that I can ask some mine, but go for it. Cool, okay, so. Let's call. Obviously, you all explained how you came to find community solar, why you ended up using it instead of traditional solar energy. Why would you or would you not recommend it to a neighbor around you, besides the fact that you would save money on it?
I would definitely recommend it because it's really easy. When I signed up for it, all I had to do was like make an account, link my Pepco account with it. I didn't have to actually go and tell Pepco anything. I just linked the accounts and it worked seamlessly. And all that they do is they charge a subscription on the Nautilus. They charge a subscription on the Nautilus page, and then that shows up in the form of my energy bill as a bunch of dollars off. Like, if Nautilus charged me $100, I get maybe like $115 back on my credit on my Pepco bill. And I think it was just really easy to use, so I definitely recommend doing it. If you want to do any work for it, just sign up.
Just to clarify that, like at least until recently, yeah, like with Neighborhood Sun, and this was because the state of Maryland has not, because the utilities didn't want to make it simple, so the state of Maryland took them a while to facilitate consolidating bills. But until, 2 months ago, I guess, we would pay Neighborhood Sun, they would put a charge on our credit card, and then with some time delay, a charge with a credit for the number of kilowatt hours that, actually, let's back up for 1 second. When you set up your plan, say with Neighborhood Sun, because that's what I'm familiar with, they ask for a handful of your Pepco bills to get an estimate of what your consumption is every month, which they do a remarkably good job. But it's tricky, obviously. It varies from month to month and so forth. But based on that, you're subscribing to a particular solar project, like our project is Panorama, which is built on an old landfill, and it has a certain output. And based on your annual consumption, they allocate, you basically are given a share of the total annual output of that facility. And then they come every month, or I don't know how regularly they do it, they go and they measure like how much energy did that project put into the grid. And then I get a certain fraction of that allocated to me. And so the idea is that they try, when you sign up, they try to estimate it so that not much more and not much less than your consumption is accounted for by the energy that was put into the grid on your behalf. And they, like I said, do a pretty good job, and you can update it, and you add some heat pumps or something, your consumption goes up, you can ask them to recheck it, recalibrate it, and they'll give you a little bit more of a share of the output of that facility. And so the way it used to work, though, is then they would send a bill for the energy that they had produced on your behalf. You'd pay them for that, and then they would send Pepco a big pile of information, and then eventually Pepco would credit you. It's very complicated. But now that, thanks to some state legislators, it's now you just get your Pepco bill, and it shows, it actually shows how much you paid, how much you owe Neighborhood Sun, basically, but you pay through Pepco now, how much you owe Neighborhood Sun, and how much electricity credit you got on behalf of from that payment. The difference being that Neighborhood Sun guarantees, depending on the project or whatever, that they're going to charge you 5 or 10% less per kilowatt hour than Pepco does. So it's a very similar number. It's really not about saving a lot of money, like Wentow said. In several years he saved $1 million. It's nice, but mainly it's really, for me, it's really nice to be sponsoring renewable energy on an old landfill rather than fracking, for example. And then you get the savings. And I say, the whole thing is so much more streamlined now than it used to be. And it's only getting better. And obviously, also the customer service is very good. The people who work for Neighborhood Sun, at least, are idealistic and competent. So it's been a pleasure, really. And it's seamless.
Yeah, my answer is pretty simple. I set it up in 2021, and have basically not thought about it since then. So the way it works for me, which sounds like it's a little bit different, is my electricity bill basically gets split between Pepco and Neighborhood Sun. I don't pay any sort of subscription fee. I just pay Neighborhood Sun for part of my electricity.
Call it a subscription. If you look at it, call it.
Sure, but basically I'm paying them for part of my electricity use, and it's discounted 10%. And then the rest of my electricity use gets paid to Pepco at their normal rates. And so I do have two bills, but they're like cut in half, and one is discounted. And this has been going on for like the past 5 years, and I haven't thought about it.
Are you sure you still have two bills? You just consolidated them a couple months ago.
Oh, it's possible it could have changed within the past couple months.
Yes,
I would have
it changes in the past couple of months.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that is how it has worked, and even with that, it has been pretty straightforward.
Right.
I just save $5 to $10 each month.
It's an older system. You had to have a lot of trust because it was very hard to go in and figure it out because there was a time lag and two bills, and so you're like, and it was even hard to figure out like when you were. It was messier, but yeah.
So in the event of a power outage, is there any differing between
There's no nothing. This is all on paper. So I always forget to emphasize this. Pepco is taking power from the grid, delivering it to your house, just like always. Any problem that happens, you're going to have the same problems everyone else has. They're going to be fixed in exactly the same way because it's the same electrons being moved. It's just that it's an accounting thing, essentially, that you are, there's a certain amount of power being added to the grid on your behalf from this solar panel, or from this solar
absence
project.
of finger pointing is there?
No, because there couldn't be even, because it's just,
Oh, they found a way.
they haven't found a way. Don't give them ideas.
Challenges.
No, so it's logistically and technically, you're getting exactly the same electricity, exactly the same service. It's just where your money is going, essentially, and that your money is going to support adding solar to the grid at a slightly lower cost.
Two questions. One, are community solar, do they have fixed capacity of the number of subscribers? And are they, is there availability? If we were all in this room to go sign up right now, would it run out? And then maybe second question is, are they stackable? So could you subscribe to community solar and go get solar panels on your house? Or if you're like me, convince your landlord to put in solar panels or something like that?
I can answer both of those questions, I think. The first one is, yes, each of these projects obviously has limited capacity, so I think the one that you're a member of is full right now. People, they're waiting lists, so people would come and go, and they're constantly working with new solar developers to add new projects. So I think there's availability now. It's not like nobody can do it, but if everyone, they can handle everyone in the room. I don't know if they could handle everyone in Maryland doing it all at once, but it's a very dynamic system. And I forgot what your other question was. That was an easier question.
Can you stack them with?
Oh yeah, so I actually used to do. I won't get into ways because it's even more complicated. But yeah, there's no issue there at all. Basically, if you stack them, and I love your idea of convincing your landlord to do this, that would just dramatically reduce your energy consumption. And so that would change the allocation from your, whatever your solar project was, and then you would just be, but whatever power wasn't delivered by the solar panels, you would then get the community solar.
By the way, the state of Maryland has a website where they list all of the currently available community solar. They have all the community solar, and they tell you if something's already subscribed, or so you can't get into that one, and they tell you which ones are still open, and that they are, based on geography and your utility. So it's not the most user-friendly thing on earth, but you can pretty much figure it out in 5 minutes and find which community solar options are available. It's on the flyer on the table there. So
It's technically very challenging, but invisible to us. All that kind of thing. If you're dealing with Neighborhood Sun, it's their problem to tell you, who's available and getting the energy allocations, but it's not an issue from a user's perspective.
Anyone on Zoom, by the way, have questions? Cool. All right, so then question for you all. Obviously, we pretty much 66% split on this, but you guys use Neighborhood Solar, Neighborhood Sun, you use Nautilus. What was important for you guys when picking a group to go with for this? So we can start with, you want to start with Quentin this time?
It's honestly been so long, I don't remember. And I'm sure I looked into it and they seem trustworthy and I've had a good experience. Yeah.
And for me, it's even been longer, so I don't remember so well. But I actually it's the backstory, which I won't share. So that but the guy who started Neighborhood Sun, originally he's like a sustainability entrepreneur, and he had started up a wind power company that I was very supportive of. And so when Neighborhood Sun came along, it's like this sounds good. And I can't remember if I knew people who'd done it already. I know a lot of people in my neighborhood have signed up as a result of my interest. That's probably, that might have been what happened with me also.
I think what we chose Nautilus was just members of the community also participated in that, and they said they had good experience with it, and it was like easy to use, and that's kind of what I was looking for, and something where like just seeing that my money would go to solar panels is also a nice thing to do, and I guess any of these would do, but Nautilus was just kind of the community.
I have a stupid, I'm trying to still understand the big picture here, so just, this would help. Is Community Solar, capital C, capital S, a company?
No.
Or is this a concept?
Concept.
Thank you, okay. Thank
Good
you.
question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
It would make a good name for a company.
Is there a contract, John,
Sorry, one more time?
Is there a contract?
Contract, John. So in your guys' experience,
or subscription for contract?
So I think it's going to be go there.
Sure. So there is, I mean, like I said, there used to be a subscription where you pay 2 bills. Like for example, Nautilus, a couple months ago, I think it was the last one I got. You pay it on their website, and then you also receive credit on your Pepco bill. This is just one payment now, where you sign up, you link your accounts, and everything is done through Pepco. So there's no contract really. Just sign up, make an account, and say, hey, I'd like to participate in this, and then there's a spot to put you in.
So and I don't know. I just, because like it's been so long, I went onto their Neighborhood Sun website to see when did I sign up, is there a contract? There is a copy of a contract apparently that I signed in 2019, but I think, again, it's going to depend on your particular arrangement, but I think it was, it commits you for some certain amount of time, which is long past. And different companies have done this different ways, and it's probably changed in recent times. But there's a formal arrangement, and for me, I'm pretty sure. And I know that there was a time when, at least with a lot of these companies, if you quit before a year, then there'd be some penalty or something. But I don't even know if people do that anymore. But after a certain amount of time, it's just no one want you. There's no reason to want to quit anyway. So yeah.
Do you have to resubscribe every year?
No. And we keep using the word subscription because I think they use that. And again, I noticed on the new consolidated Pepco bill, because Pepco is still apparently committed to making it as confusing to read as possible.
Yes.
They do call it, they call it something like I know they use the word subscription. And all they mean is, this is the amount of money, this is the amount of credit you got from, in my case, Neighborhood Sun, and they call that subscription. And then under that is a different, I forget what they call it, but that's the price you paid for it. And they're similar, but they're 5 or 10% different. It's just, it's still fairly opaque, but it's possible to figure out.
Yeah, just to make it as clear as possible, at least for me, there's not a subscription fee.
Right, exactly.
You're just paying some of your electricity to a different source at a discounted rate, so you're just saving money.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like when you chose a different supplier, they had all these things, and all the older people in my neighborhood were like, people were coming to their doors, can I see your Pepco bill?
Right.
And it's kind of,
We're mostly scammers, actually.
yeah, they're mostly scammers, but this is not. So, I'm just taking notes as my older constituents.
This is simpler now.
Yeah, okay.
It really is, and it's simpler to understand also. And afterwards, I can tell you about the complicated way I used to combine those. That's confusing otherwise.
Yes, I would hear, thank you.
And Pepco bills are divided into supply and delivery, are those the two?
So again, this is just about supply.
Supply, yeah.
So I have a question specifically to the renters. Has anyone had the opportunity to see what happens when somebody leaves and somebody else takes over a utility bill that was previously tied to community solar? How does that work?
So not exactly that, although I will have to do that soon. So we'll see how it goes. But I had a slightly similar experience where I actually moved in the middle of having a neighborhood sun set up. And so I transferred my utilities to the new address. I transferred neighborhood sun to the new address. As far as I recall, it was pretty straightforward.
I mean, it's just just like any time you sign up for utility, it's attached to you, not as a renter. It's attached to you.
But the utility bills are sometimes attached to the property, which is why I'm asking, and why I specifically wanted the.
Oh, I've never encountered that as a renter either, where it's
Yeah. So I don't know about transferring people, but transferring addresses was totally fine.
Great.
All right, well, another question for you guys. Then obviously we're talking a lot of good stuff, a lot of hype about community solar, and I would agree that it is amazing. But if you guys were to say there's one bad thing about it at all, is there one A, and B, what would it be? Is there any red flags to know about?
Well, since they changed it recently, I would say there's any big red flags. I did dislike back a few months ago, when we had our first few bills, that you had to pay it on two fronts, but now that's done, so I don't see any downside of doing it. I would recommend it. Super easy to do.
I totally agree. It was really annoying before, not just that it was two separate bills, but that there were time lags, and it was very hard to figure out what you were paying for and when. There was a lot of blind trust, which a couple of times I dug into it seemed to be warranted. But now, as you say, I would say no, there's really no downside.
Yeah, I've had a good experience.
Yeah, that's good. It's always a good sign. Yeah. All right, again, just checking with our Zoom friends. Anyone on Zoom interested or have questions, I should say?
I just have one quick question, and apologies if you already answered this. But, where I live currently, I'm a renter, and there's 5 of us that rent in this house, and so our landlord is the one who has Pepco account and actually lets us know how much we owe him each month. So I'm curious, in that situation, I'm assuming that he would need to be the one to sign up through this. And so I'm kind of curious, how much additional work is it? Is it essentially you do have to manage 2 bills each month, or does it all come through one Pepco bill once you sign up? I think that's the thing I'm a little confused about.
So yeah, now as we were saying, it used to be 2 bills. Now it's not. So he would just have to sign up with Neighborhood Sun, and that would just then all appear on the Pepco bill. The credit for the Neighborhood Sun generation would appear on the Pepco bill, and there would just be one charge on the Pepco bill. So it would be totally straightforward once he signed up.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else on Zoom have any questions for us? Awesome. Okay, so I have 1 or 2 more for you guys. I'm sorry, was that in over here? Oh, it's not in here? No? Okay. Making it up, I guess. Anyways, what's called? 1 or 2 more questions for you guys, as I was going to say. Now, would you guys, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this correctly because I feel like it's already been asked, but being that, some of us are renters, some of us are homeowners here, especially this is more for the homeowners, would you consider getting off of community solar if you installed your own solar panels on it?
Well, I was sitting here thinking about that actually, because, I think that, and I have, over the years, before we signed up for community solar, they did kind of get estimates for what would be the costs and benefits for having solar. And both times we had a problem that we had too many trees, which was a problem that I was happy to have. And then also that our electricity consumption was too low, which may not be true anymore since we've gotten off gas and switched over to heat pumps. So it is kind of appealing to me to look into that and think about that. And there's obviously the upside also is when there's a power outage, chances are you won't be affected. On the other hand, if there is a power outage that affects your system, it's your problem. So and if there, so I, as somebody who never has had solar on my roof, I've always been kind of wary about having to deal with something, owning it, and then it's my responsibility. You get all the benefits and all the risks. So I'm saying that as someone who doesn't have experience, but maybe people who do would be like, don't worry about it, it's fine. But so it's a little bit appealing to me because, first of all, I would save a lot of money probably eventually, and then you're more independent when we have our extreme storms and lose power. But it's not high on my list because I love right now seamless, effortless. It's not my problem, so that's kind of where I stand. But this did get me thinking about it again.
Awesome. All right, then if there's no other questions from the crowd, someone on Zoom, we have a question?
Yep.
I was able
That's
to,
great to see.
yeah, I know we seem to have a lot of questions about what it might look like. I just Googled this real quick. This is from Solar Neighborhood Sun, or Neighborhood Sun. I don't have community solar, but I'd be curious, is this kind of what it looks like?
No, there's something wrong there.
Something wrong?
First of all, I'm almost sure that I saw the word subscription on mine, and also that those two numbers should be the change to the balance and if you go up. Yeah, like community solar credit, it's a little bit different from this, but it gets the idea. But like the 292s would be, what this captures is how confusing the bills are.
Oh, this might be a little bit easier. Community solar summary, maybe? I don't know. Credit.
It gets the idea. So what you can see here, though, is that that you had 526 kilowatt hours allocated from that solar project to your bill for this month, and so they're going to credit that at PEPCO's rate, but then they're going to only charge you, and it will show up on here, although it doesn't the way they're showing this. It will show up as slightly less than PEPCO's rate. But it shows you, for this month's bill, you're being credited with 500, and does it show you the total? Where's the total consumption somewhere? 70, so it looks like this person, this month, they used 724 kilowatt hours, and their allocation from the Neighborhood Sun project was 500 and something kilowatt hours. So part of the money, this bill now is gonna have a certain amount, slightly discounted rate for that 500 something hours, which PEPCO will then send to Neighborhood Sun, and then a couple of hundred kilowatt hours that are going to go directly to PEPCO at PEPCO's regular rate. And all of the math and everything is done for you, though, so if you trust them, which it seems like they're pretty trustworthy and they do know what they're doing, all you really have to do is look at it and say, how much did I owe this month? And if you're tracking your consumption, that also is pretty straightforward. Each month's bill is going to show your actual consumption, not just how much you got from the Neighborhood Sun project, but your total consumption. So, and this is what, if you're signing up for Neighborhood Sun or asking them to reassess your allocation, they would ask you for several of those bills. I don't think they ask you for enough bills, because winter and summer are really different. They ask you for your last 2 or 3 bills. Maybe they really know that how much people differ between winter and summer, but I sent them 12 bills, or and then they can look at that and really get a good sense of what your consumption is. And if this person was consistently using 700 kilowatt hours, they could adjust that allocation so that every month they were getting something closer to 700 kilowatt hours. So they're going to be getting most of their electricity from Neighborhood Sun. And obviously, one thing that didn't come up is there's quite a fluctuation between winter and summer and how much the project is generating in terms of power. So in the summer, depending on your consumption, there's a possibility that you're going to actually be accumulating credits. So I have had I think I had a number of months. It came during this transition from the non-consolidated to consolidated bills, so it's extra confusing. But there were a number of months where I was like, I haven't paid any electricity bill in a while. And it was partly because they were generating so much power during certain months that I was actually getting a credit of kilowatt hours because more was going into the grid than I was consuming. But believe me, this winter it caught up.
So does the individual, do you actually select which solar farm you want to invest in?
Well, yes and no. Again, I can just speak for Neighborhood Sun, and I didn't realize, I just happened to look this morning, when I looked at my contract, it was actually a contract with, what was that,
Nautilus.
with Nautilus, I think. So I don't know how that works with Neighborhood Sun. Damn, I don't need to know. But so if you go onto their website, assuming there are projects that are open now, they're constantly, and as Todd was saying, they're apparently you can use the Maryland website. It shows you different options, and there might or might not be more than one. For my area, at the time I signed up, at least through Neighborhood Sun, there was one project that was going. And I know that, depending on different projects at different times, they'll differ in if you have a 5% off the EPCO rate or 10% off the EPCO rate. But mostly I think you don't have that many opportunities and it doesn't really matter. Maybe it might if I liked the idea that this project was built on an abandoned landfill in Prince George's County. That's another thing. You tend to try to do projects that are not too far removed from you, partly just for how it feels, I think. But yeah, so it's not like you necessarily have to go around and pick your project, at least with Neighborhood Sun. And it's probably the same with Nautilus. You go on there and they're like, here is your option, or maybe your options, and you just say, okay, this is fine.
I wanted to say just kind of one brief final thing, which is as you can kind of see from a lot of the things that Leo's been talking about, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make this work. It's a cool project and there's a lot happening to make it work. But truly, I said it and didn't think about it, and I saved money every month. You can do that, and it has just worked.
Very well summarized. And yeah, and if you're actually interested in these things, I kind of am, then you can kind of try to dig in more and understand more. But as you say, it's behind the scenes. Yeah, you don't need to know anything really.
And on that note, anyone else have any final thoughts they'd like to share before we wrap it up? No?
I definitely, it's the lowest effort thing. I see plenty of advantages to putting on your own solar on your roof, but if your goal is to have it be as simple as possible, community solar is the way to go.
Quick question, can we combine the solar panels with the community solar?
Yes. And all that would do is it would reduce, you'd be generating a lot of your own electricity, so it would reduce your demand every month, so you'd be getting less through community solar.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Big round of applause for them, please.
Good solar panelists.
I wanted to dive in about, the city has great solar panels throughout the city. We have solar panels at Youth and Family Services, but we also have solar panels here at the fleet garage and the landscaping garage. I will tell you that the solar panels over at Youth and Family Services pay for themselves every month. We are basically zero cost because it's a great location. So really your roof and the amount of sun you get is going to dictate how much solar, how much it generates. Our landscaping garage, not so much. We don't get as great of a payout, not the landscaping fleet, but landscaping does. It leans this way. So again, a good contractor will let you know that.
What do you think about my roof?
That's honestly a good get a good contractor out there to
Before
give
they
you.
come out, they actually take a of your home from a satellite.
Yes.
They know.
I know. I already know.
Yeah.
No trees or anything. I had a big tree, so I couldn't have it. But my roof has so many angles and stuff. So for me, community solar may be a better.
They give you an estimate even before they come out and look at your home. So we can see from above what this is going to be like, and this is an estimate.
The only thing that would be better if it was facing north-south rather than east-west, but what can you do?
Yeah, you can't change your home.
Hey, I don't think a lot in the landscape would allow for that well, but I think my neighbors might be upset too.
Yeah. Well, thanks to all our panelists today. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. Plenty of options. So,
and there'll be people here if you want to.
Yeah, you can ask folks.
Ask any of the panelists or.
There's plenty of food still left, so you can have some food. But yeah, if you want to, you can buy plug-in solar and just plug that in, and you'll save some money. You can do community solar. You can do the Maryland. It's now legal.
There is a flyer over here explaining the new plug-in options, and
So yeah, you can do any of these things that we discussed today, and that the county has programs that can help you put solar on your home if you own it. So,
Yeah, there's a lesson in it.
thank you, everyone.
Is that the last session?
Yes. Pleasure. I mean, obviously, these level of examples, but